some people are just not into supplements. Like I have a hard time understanding like this is like it's a processed thing. It's been
it's been extracted. Okay, let's look like on this product. So I get that, and that's a cool thing. It's like some people aren't into supplements. They're like, well, no, come on, we're like. We evolved from apes or something. We didn't have supplements for millions of years. Yeah. That's a theory, by the way.
Yeah.
Another theory is that we crash landed here and we're actually from another planet, or we were genetically modified by aliens, and we were genetically modified in South Africa, and from there we emanated out from that place. And there's a lot of evidence to all three of those theories.
Okay.
So I'm not completely convinced, by the way, that we evolved from apes and that we went through this whole evolutionary process and never had anything like this ever before in our genetic history. And the reason why I suspect that is because when we're driving around in a car, we can actually do it without even thinking about it. If this was something that was really completely new in the universe to our genetic history of every humanoid in this universe, I just don't feel it would be that easy.
Okay.
So there's different theories as to where we come from. So this is how I kind of justify this to myself. If I was going to just go totally like paleo or raw food or whatever and no supplements at all, and I get that, it's a good idea, and I recommend that actually because it's good to just clean everything away and just find out, then I'm going to be like pretty much having an interesting destiny, but I know that I'm not going to be able to activate certain genetic epigenetic traits or things on certain genes that might be activated by something like this that could give me a lifespan of 150. I might make it to 120, but I'm not going to get to 150. There's going to be a certain thing based on the natural diet, natural lifestyle of what's here available on this earth that's only going to get me to a certain point. Okay. So when it comes to something like this for me, I'm looking at that exotic possibility.
Cool. Okay. So yeah.
I'm looking at actually, in this particular case, I'm looking at activating the Sirt1 gene, which is the SIRTUIN #1 gene, which is a particular epigenetic challenge. It's hard to activate that gene that promotes longevity. And it can promote extreme longevity, over 120 years of life. Which to me is,
who said that's the gene? Is that?
That's kind of you can Google it. Yeah. It's the Sirt1 gene, SIRT1. That'll bring up all the research, and you can start figuring out like there's been some things figured out in genetics. It's pretty darn cool.
That's the one. Okay.
Yeah, and then so certain things activate that, like resveratrol activates that. This is basically a resveratrol type of molecule. This is Hops X factor for those of you who are wondering at home, what the heck is that? It's a resveratrol type of compound. It's a prenylated chalcone.
Hang on a second, sorry.
Okay.
X Factor, it's not from the show in England. It's a completely different world to the X Factor show.
Is there an X Factor show?
There is. Carry on.
And it's based on the research going on in resveratrol, which is extensive. It's been known for a long time that the French paradox, that the French eat all kinds of stuff, even croissants, and they still live to be 80 or 90 or 100 without heart disease.
Yeah, and they smoke a lot as well.
And they smoke a lot as well. And so something is cutting off the inflammatory response, the cellular degradation response, the aging response early. And a lot of minds have been on that for quite some years. And the compound that's been isolated that's suspected as being the major agent of that is resveratrol.
Okay.
And resveratrol is basically it's kind of a purplish pigment that's present in blueberries, it's present in Saskatoon berries, it's present in acai, and it's present in grapes.
Okay.
And it's present in high phenolic. It's present in all wines, pretty much. But it's really present in port wines, like real high phenolic wines, the kind of wines that traditionally had been drank in France. Now we drink, lighter stuff, Chardonnays and things that don't really have that resveratrol concentration.
I think it's from the port. Okay.
Right, it's port wine, definitely. If you look at the longest lived people, especially the longest lived French, you'll find that they were port wine drinkers specifically. And alcohol is a very good delivery system for resveratrol because resveratrol is not very water soluble.
Right.
So the alcohol drives it in. So to my mind, as a kind of pharmacologist, garage scientist, it makes sense as to why resveratrol works. What this is about is actually increasing the availability of a similar compound to resveratrol because this, once you eat it, it has 12 hours to get to your cells to do its thing. Resveratrol only has 3.
Okay.
So unless it's in an alcohol form, it's probably not going to make it, just to be totally honest.
Okay.
So if you're taking a resveratrol supplement, it's probably not working.
Okay.
Be totally honest.
So
And
what? How have you made this? What is this?
well, what this is, it's a particular extract of the hops plant. So essentially, just for those folks who are watching who are wondering, like, okay, which plants are you going to be looking into for these things? You're probably going to be looking at cannabis pretty quickly.
Okay.
But cannabis is highly illegal in many countries. The next closest plant is hops.
Right.
That's what led to
Interesting.
this. Yeah, so all of a sudden you're looking at this. Now, I believe, by the way, that probably, I mean, my guess would be that probably in cannabis is a similar type of resveratrol type of compound that could be isolated, concentrated, and delivered in a form like this, but because of the illegality of that particular plant, it's not happening right now. So somebody went on to hops and started looking at hops and breaking it down, stripping down all the flavonoids that are in it, and started testing out different flavonoids. This is how, like, LSD was discovered.
Okay.
Right. Basically, what happened is there's 100 elements of what's in ergot, of this. Ergot's a fungus, and some of them can influence, for example, like a birth contraction. Some of them are can actually influence the brain and actually activate more blood flow to the brain. And then one of them was what Albert Hoffman discovered was LSA that he then tweaked and turned into LSD 25. He was extracting certain things, playing around with it, doing little experiments on it, fed it to rabbits, and then what happened in his case, he accidentally exposed himself. He accidentally got some on his skin. It absorbed, and the reaction occurred. That was one of the great moments of the 20th century, where he was riding home on his bike, and all of a sudden, this whole thing happened. You can imagine, having never had anything like this or any context for anything like this, but he was so clever that you realized what he'd done, that he actually contaminated himself somehow.
Huh.
Amazing.
You like LSD?
I think it's an amazing compound, and I think it's much safer than magic mushrooms, actually.
Really?
It's obviously heavily maligned. The LD50 of LSD is much higher. Magic mushrooms are much more dangerous than LSD.
Just because it's not, you haven't got like a control.
They're more toxic.
Okay.
They're more toxic. But we live in a world that's against such things.
Yeah.
So it's
so.
One day it'll be able to be explored scientifically, which would be, I think, a thing that would be awesome. But unfortunately, we don't live in that world today.
No.
Yeah.
You must be like a hitman on the FDA's list, no?
I don't think so. I mean, I think I'm still well, maybe, or maybe I'm still too small. But I don't go around saying this cures that.
No. You're quite careful with the...
Yeah, because I don't really believe that anyway.
No.
I mean, I really don't. That's an important thing, is you can't say that this food is going to cure you of this or that diet's going to cure you of that. That would be inappropriate, and I get why that's illegal. Now, that the pharmaceutical companies can make claims, I think that should also be illegal.
Yeah.
Right? They should be able to make no claims whatsoever. So it's at least a balanced playing field, a level playing field.